Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. We have a news update today on the CSA cases in Montana going on. I do have another video on it that I will link in the description below, and I will also link it at the end of this video that you can just click on it. But I talked about, yes, the CSA cases against Watchtower going on in Montana, and also how the courts there in Montana put sanctions on Watchtower, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But today, joining us to give us this report is Ruby Quinn, and she has her own YouTube channel as well, Ruby Quinn. And we're going to join her. She's backstage right now. She's going to come on and give us an update on these cases. Welcome, Ruby.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Now I'm a little late to reporting on this because I think information, did it come out last week?
I think so.
Okay. And what we're talking about here, I'm going to put it on screen. Let's see here. Is these cases, and these are the people's last name, which I may butcher, but Cart Mapley versus Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York. And then the other case is Roland and Schultz versus Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of New York. And this has been going on for quite a few years. Am I right?
Yeah, I think it's after like 5 years because Mark O'Donnell, gave the last update, and that was July 10th.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, just to remind my viewers that in my other video, I talked about how Watchtower's senior lawyer, Philip Brumley, and I'm going to put that information up here now. He was fined over $154,000. And I got some notes here to remind me. It says because on June 22nd, 2020, he submitted an affidavit to the United States District Court of Montana when he used language that was intentional and sustained effort to deceive the court. So for an organization that prides itself on, being so honest and all that, they're not when it comes to protecting their money.
Right.
What do you think about
that? Or their reputation, because the whole reason why he's giving this false information, whatever language he's using, he's trying to evade what they're trying to find out. What do they have to hide? Why can't you just give the information that needs for the case? If it doesn't hurt you and it helps the victims, then as a Jehovah's Witness, wouldn't you want to help anybody, regardless of if you're in court or out of court? Wouldn't you want to tell the truth about anything? Because being a Jehovah's Witness, you're supposed to tell the truth. That's literally what we used to like. We used to say, oh, you could trust a Jehovah's Witness because they never lie. They never steal. They never do bad things. So if you're growing up with that, and then you see Watchtower doing some fishy or shady things, you're like, why would they have a reason to lie? So it's kind of fishy.
That's right. And then he tried to spin it in this way by saying that Watchtower has never been registered to conduct business in Montana and has no contact with congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses in Montana. And again, my other video, I go a little bit more into it and show you some court paperwork, court documents and such, but that's just unbelievable.
It's a lie. It's a lie. That's what we have to say. Watchtower lies, but they expect their members to tell the truth. And then they want to say, oh, apostates are dangerous because they spread lies. So, they always say lies. And who's the father of the lie? I said that in my video too. I said, They always want to blame Satan is the father of the lie. That's why we don't lie, because we are not children of Satan. We are children of Jehovah. And Jehovah is true and loyal. And that the lights, Jehovah provides new light. He tells us new things so that we could live a better life. So if they're lying or telling something that's not true, because that's what they're going to say. Oh, we're not lying, we're just not telling them what they need to know, because theocratic warfare, we have to protect Jehovah's Witnesses or protect Watchtower. And that's not, they're trying to hide behind that. No, you're lying. And if you're lying, then you are an agent of Satan or a child of Satan, because why would you need to lie? That's not Jehovah's Holy Spirit. That's not coming from Jehovah.
Good point. Good point. They also said, his affidavit was written in the present tense, but the crimes took place in the past. And so instead, he described both corporations, Watchtower's New York and Watchtower's Pennsylvania corporations, as they operate presently. So he was being sneaky. And interestingly enough, though, the great state of Montana saw right through it. So
exactly right, because they also tried to make it seem as if Watchtower PA, Watchtower New York, and then another entity, like all three of those entities were separate. Why are they trying to separate each entity when we know that headquarters deals with everything? The service department and the legal department. It doesn't matter what state or country you are in, it will go to headquarters Warwick Watchtower, and they have the documentation. All of a sudden, oh no, they're three different entities: New York, PA, and then the third one, I can't remember what it was, but it's like they tried to separate everything. Why are they trying to go around the bush, like beating around the bush, not giving you the direct answers, not telling you specifically what the service department deals with, what the legal department deals with? And now all of a sudden, oh, we don't know who's who. We don't know who has the documentation. Sorry, we don't know.
That's right. That's right. It's crazy. And I'm going to bring up on the screen here some paperwork, and I'll link this in the description below, and I did in the other video. But this is the motion for the sanctions. Let me get this up here. Oh, let's see here. Let me bring it to the stage. This is a document, and I forget how, it's a pretty long document, but this is on page 3, where in the motion for sanctions in the case here with Tracy Cart and Camelia Mapley, Watchtower New York responded to interrogatory 9, and this is what they said. You can read it here but there's a line in here. It says, quote, "Like these faithful men, the governing body are not leaders of Jehovah's Witnesses," unquote. So, it's crazy to me that they go so far, to, outright lies. And I do want to remind the viewers that these crimes took place in the 70s and 80s. So this Philip Brumley was trying to give them, like I said, he was trying to say, oh no, we do things, this is the way we do things. But which I'm sure some of their ways have changed presently, but they weren't asking for that. They were asking for how it was handled in the past, because that's when the crimes took place.
Right. Well, that's what they're trying to hide behind. Oh, we used to do things a certain way, but that's not how it's done anymore, and therefore we're not guilty for whatever those people used to do. But another element to that narrative is plausible deniability. Is like, oh, we're the governing body. We only handle theocratic things, spiritual things. We don't handle things that has to do with legal stuff. That's a different department. So they're trying to separate themselves once again. That's why, yeah, that's why how like on Rick Farron's show he has like the tentacles of Watchtower, and it's true. It's because they're trying to make it seem like, oh, we have all these legs, but who's the head? Who's at the top? And that's right. That's what they're trying to get at. But you're a part of the same animal. You know what I mean? Like it's the same entity. So it's like, so who is going to be the fall guy? Who is going to take responsibility for everything that has been happening? The lawyer was like a semi-fall guy because they were finding him. His reputation is ruined. And it's like they're trying to put guys in the middle of who's really responsible, which is the governing body. They are, because they have to sign off on literally everything. So whoever is behind the scenes in the legal department and the service department, we don't know who they are. They're not a part of the governing body. They could be helpers. They can be people who write publications. We don't know who they are. And this is the same departments where Barbara Anderson used to work at. I mean, this is where she comes from. That's why it was so, like, it was crazy when she came out with what she did, because she was like a whistleblower. She was like, I was in those cabinets. I was in those departments. I know how they function. She knows how these men are.
Yeah.
So you see, so the governing body is trying to say, oh, well, I have no knowledge of that. I don't know what that's about. So they're trying to put all of these obstacles. And that's why I say it's an obstruction of justice, because why are you not going to just hand it over and say, look, we're not responsible because X, Y, and Z, and give us the real reason, be transparent. But they're not even doing that. They're just going to lie and deceive and do anything that isn't telling the truth so that they don't get to the bottom of it. Now that makes them look fishy.
That's right. That's right. So now that we've kind of updated the audience on what's been going on for many years, this case in Montana, we have a new update, and I would love for you to, and I'm going to put that bring that banner up right now, that we have an update. So tell us what the update is and when this took place, when this update came about.
Okay, cool. So Mark O'Donnell is an amazing XJW who is releasing all of this information, and that's really how it gets to us, and that we can put this in video form. So he posted this on Twitter July 10th, and I can share my screen. Let's see if I can share my screen, just so that people can read along with us. Okay, I think you should be able.
Okay, yep, I see it. Let me add to stage.
Okay, so Mark O'Donnell tweets, breaking: after more than 5 years of investigation, litigation, depositions, and multiple fines and sanctions against the Jehovah's Witnesses, 2 federal court child abuse cases have reached a confidential settlement. Multiple victims of abuse allege that they suffered at the hands of numerous elders and ministerial servants in Hardin, Montana during the 1970s and 80s, and that these allegations and facts were known to countless other elders, circuit overseers, district overseers, and the men who operate the legal and service departments at the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses. These cases were scheduled for consecutive trials in August and September, but the sudden settlement signals the end of litigation and a small measure of justice for the victims of these men and the organization that failed to notify law enforcement of these alleged crimes. The Jehovah's Witnesses sabotaged their own ability to stand trial in both cases due to legal practices that caused federal judge Susan Waters to issue a series of sanctions and penalties for judicial misconduct. Some of these sanctions included instructions to the jury in both the K-Krat and Rowland cases that the Jehovah's Witnesses had intentionally destroyed key documents when creating memorandums or summaries of child abuse cases.
Wow.
During the course of this case, Watchtower's own chief counsel, Philip Brumley, was fined more than $154,000 for his role in misleading the court and filing 2 false and deceptive affidavits. Brumley appealed these sanctions to the Ninth Circuit, but the appellate court upheld his fines and will forever be a stain upon the Church of Jehovah's Witnesses. While these settlements normally come with non-disclosure agreements attached, the amount of information gained during the past 5 years will be instrumental in helping countless other victims of abuse within the JW Church. It will also provide a historical analysis of the extent of child abuse and lack of reporting among the witnesses, driven by the policies of its governing body and their lawyers. More analysis will follow in the coming weeks and months.
Wow, wow, wow. So what do you think about this settlement that the victims settled?
I am slightly disappointed, and I've said this on Vern's news segment that I do with him every Friday. I said it in my own video that, I mean, although the victims were brave enough to come forward, courageous enough to go through what they have, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now.
That's
so
right.
I thank them. But then, at the end of the day, this is what Watchtower wants. They want to settle out of court. I don't know if you've seen that video of the governing body member where he says, oh, just because a brother and a sister has been arrested doesn't mean that they're guilty. Just because we have settled out of court doesn't mean that there's guilty. So that's the narrative that they are already trying to paint to average Jehovah's Witnesses through the broadcasting, because they know that this information is going to come out. You can't hide this. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Yeah, but then the settlement... But then the settlement is like, that's exactly what they're trying to say. Oh, just because we settled out of court doesn't mean that we're guilty. It's just a way of doing things. And it's like, no, I'm a little disappointed.
Yeah, it's bittersweet, I would say. I mean, super happy for the victims to at least get some justice. And let's hope they got a big sum because they've been through, hell at the last 5 years. Having to deal with all this, but and the thing is, it was not going well for the witnesses. This whole case, these cases, is like 2 different cases that I mentioned at the beginning, that they kind of 2 cases they joined into one, if I understand correctly, and they just had like one thing after another. The Watchtower just not going in their benefiting them anyway, in a way. They've had it just wasn't looking good for them. So on the Watchtower side of things, they were smart to settle, because I think if it did go to court, they weren't going to win. More than likely.
Yeah, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is like, I'm confident that K. Pratt Mapley would have won. So if you settle, that's just the easy way out, unfortunately, because if you would have went to trial, all of this would have been laid out. The jury would have had full knowledge of everything, and you guys still would have won. Like, at the end of the day, you still would have won. So why settle and give Watchtower the privilege of not having to release everything, all the dirty laundry that they've been doing with this case? But then again, I'm like, I understand why you would settle, because you don't want to go through all of this, because they have been fighting tooth and nail not to give over what they're supposed to give over. But the more you settle, the more Watchtower hides. So it's unfortunate, but I do understand both angles.
Yeah, and too, I guess they're looking at it like, there's that maybe 5% chance, or whatever the percentage is, 5 to 10% chance. What if you don't win? At least if you take the settlement, you are going to end up with something, and hopefully their attorneys did not allow them to settle for too little, which I would imagine they got a good amount. I sure hope so, anyway, to make it worth all their while to go through all this and the trauma of it all. So yeah, let's hope they got a good deal. I mean, maybe not as good as if they went to court, but
right. Because I always make this point, is like, the damage has already been done. Money cannot recover the innocence or the trauma or years and years of your life being ruined for whatever happened in the past. So if it was me, I'm just gonna say, if it was me, I don't care about the money, because the damage has already been done. My vendetta would have been to take down Watchtower, and whatever it takes to expose them, I would have done it, because that would have been my anger. Like, you guys knew about this, you hid it, and the elders knew about it, and they had the evidence to even come forward with this trial for as long as it did, for 5 years. I mean, I think they had convincing evidence to drag it out this long. So that's why I saw a comment once before on YouTube that said that the victims need to understand how much power that they have. You know, be confident. If you do have a case that's worth going to trial for, do it, and be confident that in yourself, in your case, in the evidence, that Watchtower is wrong and that the justice system is a good system. You know, like the system works, and you will get the justice that you deserve. So if it would have went to trial, I would have been confident that they would have won. But like I said, I understand the settlement, but it just hurts that Watchtower doesn't have to take accountability in public. They took accountability in private.
Yeah, that's right. And it's unfortunate that, in the sense too, that it didn't go to trial just for the sake is, well, it's kind of going along with what you're saying though. But that, you know, the rank and file, the witnesses, they're not going to know all this background that we just talked about. Most people do not know that this Philip Brumley, you know, was fined over $154,000 for deceiving the court and lying and stuff, and they don't know about all these other things that have gone on in this case, in these cases. Yeah,
Yeah,
so,
they're
and
not,
now
because
they'll
they're not
never
doing the
know.
research. They're not
That's
going to do
right.
the research. They're not going to look into it. They're not even going to know that Watchtower even had a case in Montana to begin with. And that $154,000, that's not coming out of Brimley's pocket. That's coming out of Watchtower's pocket. And where does Watchtower get their money from? From average Jehovah's Witness donations. Like literally, my mother would donate $100 a month out of her pocket because Jehovah needs it.
Yeah,
Jehovah needs it. But then these donations are going to these cases that you don't even know about. And then when I try to tell her, look at where your money is going, you don't even know where it's going. Look at where it's going. Oh, that's fake. That's apostate lies. That's Satan persecuting us.
wow.
It's a very dangerous cult mentality that doesn't even allow them to do the research. If I was still a witness, I wouldn't even know that this is happening. But because somebody brought it to me and I put that cognitive dissonance away and that fear, and I said, let me look at what the victim is saying. Let me look at the testimony. Let me see what's going on. That's when I said, I cannot turn a blind eye to this. It is disgusting. And it is like, it's despicable because this money is coming from average Jehovah's Witnesses. It's not coming out of their own pocket.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I just wish more people, you know, could be aware of that. And I think the more we talk about it, and you know, people might say, why do you keep talking about, you know, witness stuff? If you want to be out of the organization, to be out of it. Well, because people need to know. And the more we have these conversations and share it, the more people wake up. So there is a lot of good in having these discussions. And like you said, somebody brought it to your attention and it helped you wake up. So that's why we talk about it. And, you know, we're not stuck in the past. We're actually doing a lot to move forward. And it's called activism. So, it's called activism. And if nobody does activism, I don't care what the subject is, but if there's a problem in society and nobody has the bravery to have the conversation, the hard conversations about whatever it is, then, you know, how do you help people? You know, it's a way of helping others. And that's why we do what we do. So thank you for coming on. And like I said, I'm going to link your YouTube channel in the description below. Excuse me. Go over there and subscribe to Ruby. She's been doing a lot of, I find it fascinating. I'm loving watching your videos on all the things you're reporting on. Tell them a little bit about what you've been doing as far as the news and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on what you just said, that's literally why I started my channel, is because I feel it necessary. Like, it's my duty that if I know that Watchtower is doing this kind of stuff, and it even happened in my own family, it is my, like, an obligation for me to expose this, because I know about something that they are doing either illegally or wrong or shady. And as a real Jehovah's Witness, like I still feel like I was a real witness. I'm a real Christian. It is my duty to expose that, because as a Jehovah's Witness, my mother raised me to tell the truth, to search for the truth, and to tell the truth. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so that's why I started my YouTube channel. The very first video that I put was because my own uncle is a Jehovah's Witness, and he was reinstated, although he had to register as a sex offender. But they shunned me for what? Apostasy? Because I don't go to the Kingdom Hall anymore? So that right there is what made me say, you know what? I'm going to come out of my fade. I'm going to come out of just staying quiet out of respect for them and their religious beliefs. I no longer have that respect when Watchtower is doing this in Montana and across the world. And then when my own uncle is allowed to go to the Kingdom Hall, is allowed to associate with Jehovah's Witnesses, but I'm being shunned. So that's where the motivation comes from. It is my obligation to tell them, to tell the world, to tell Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't care who, that my former religion is doing things under the rug, behind closed doors, that is wrong, is not biblical. And it does not come from Jehovah or his Holy Spirit. If it wasn't for those things, I would still be a witness. I didn't have a problem with the religion. I didn't have doubts. I didn't have any of these things that most of us deal with. I woke up because of the shadiness, and I'm not going to stay quiet for that. And so they demonize somebody like me is because I'm exposing that. And so that's wrong in my opinion. So that's why I started my channel, is to expose CSA, expose my Jehovah's Witness uncle, expose their policies and practices. And then it kind of just geared my channel into talking about the news, talking about court cases, talking about CSA issues. Then just giving my own story of how I woke up and I left, even though I felt wrong. Then I felt like, they don't have the right to tell me that I lost Jehovah's favor and things like that. It's because I still feel Christian. I still feel like I was a good person, that I was good at heart, and that I was just wronged by a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I couldn't, with a good conscience, continue to call myself a Jehovah's Witness, knowing that they are hiding pedophiles like my uncle. So that's exactly why I started my channel and I started talking about this stuff.
And I love that you're talking about these different news cases and not just pedophilia cases. You're talking about all kinds. I just saw the other day, you reporting on a murder in, was it Italy?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's reporting on all kinds of cases worldwide. So definitely go check her out. But yes, we're doing what Watchtower trained us to do, and that is to give a witness for the truth. We are giving a witness for the truth, and they demonize that word apostate, where I over and over I keep reminding people, apostate, even though they have villainized that word, all it means is that you have left an organization, and that could be a political organization, a religious organization. It could be you left I don't know, the what's that society that they help pets, if you distance yourself from any kind of organization, you're an apostate. And the founder of the Watchtower was apostate. He left the Adventist church. So, and anyway, so it's that name is just vilified. It just drives me crazy. And so now I wear that label. I don't wear the label, but I wear it like a badge of honor now. It really, I don't apply their stupid labels. But yeah, I think people need to really be aware of that. So, and that people that are, I call them whistleblowers. People that are exposing these things are just whistleblowers.
Yep.
So, well, thank you for joining me today. And I hope to collaborate again on other news articles that you find, and go check her out and subscribe to her. And we'll see you on the next video.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm changing my life and I won't look back ever again.